Welcome to the 2025 Inktober Labyrinth Tangle journey. I've created a toolkit with the templates, step outs, and beginner resources. Grab it with the link below. And if you want all the details about how this journey works, watch our intro video inside the playlist. I'll leave the link in the description and in the comments. Hey, Tangling friends! Welcome back. As we wrap up this incredible Inktober Labyrinth journey, I wanted to take a moment to celebrate the final 6 tangles that complete our challenge. We've got Rixty, Mumdring, Laced, Sampson, Squid, and Pangea. Let me go to the studio here and I'm going to show you where I am with drawing on this labyrinth. I've done up through Mumdring, and we'll talk about why it's called that in a minute. And then we'll move on and get started drawing. So I'm going to draw all 6 of the last 6 days of the month on this video, and when it is put up on YouTube, it will be sectioned off so you don't have to watch the whole thing to find where it is. So once you've done day 26, if you want to do it that way, separate, and it will be listed on our dashboard. When you go to each of the individual days, you will get to this video. So anyway, thank you for joining. I hope you're having a great time with this labyrinth template. And here is where I'm at with it. Okay, so here are my tangles so far. Most of them I've drawn in, and I will be doing a session on YouTube that will show you how I do the shading and the coloring in. But first we need to get all 6 of these in here. And I do plan on doing a watercolor wash of some sort in the background as well. We have Rixty, Mumdring, Laced, Sampson. Squid went away. I don't know. It kind of squiggled off the out of the way. So I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then this is Pangea. I did a big Pangea with a breathe in the middle on YouTube as well. I have one just with Pangea. But let's get started. So there's the step out for Rixty. And I'm using really basic tools. I do have my graphite. I like using this mechanical pencil for my sketching graphites in the beginning. It's a Graphigear 500 Pentel. And then I have a few different sizes. I do like this Artline drawing system is a great pen, and it's also waterproof. And I have my Micron 03, and I have in the Artline the 04, the 0.4, and those I'll be using throughout the video, so I don't need to go over that every single time.
Is this number 26?
This is day 26. So each day that I do on this video, you will see the day. And it will actually also be on the video when you see it on YouTube. So I'm going to work on a 3.5 inch Zentangle tile. I do want to note a little bit about Rixty. So here's the story behind Rixty. This pattern was created by Maria Thomas, co-founder of Zentangle, as a special gift for her husband, Rick's 60th birthday. Rixty Now, if you know anything about their creative partnership, you know that Rick gravitates towards straight lines and geometric forms, while Maria loves flowing organic curves. For Rixty, Maria stepped outside her comfort zone and designed something specifically with Rick's aesthetic in mind. Their daughter Martha came up with the name, and I just love the family collaboration. Rick later shared that while Rixty starts with a simple triangular base, it can evolve into countless variations once you understand the foundational strokes. And that's really what Zentangle is all about, building complex beauty from simple elemental marks, one stroke at a time. So this is Rixty. This was a variation where I took Rixty into a circular pattern. And that's what I think I'll do this time. Let's get started. I'm going to dive in with my pen. So what I'm going to do on this one, because I'm going to draw it in a circle. So I am going to put a circle here, which you don't need to, but I want to show you how you draw one of these Rixties. So the first step is you draw a little parallel line. And then your next step is you put a line on the top. And then you bring it down into a triangle on either side. And we'll go and ink in that triangular shape. And then the next step is we'll take an aura around this triangle. And that's one Rixty. Now, if you see here on this step, you can make a branch Rixty. So what I did to make this circular is I just came in and put my different branches, parallel lines. They can be different lengths. But I started with 4. Now I can take this, and there's step 2. And you could go all the way around with that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a I'm going to make a branch. And now I'm going to put these triangles on the end. Now where your organic can come in line is that they don't need to be sharp. But I'm going to do this sharp. At least this one. But there are no, there are a lot of different variations, and so many of you come up with great ideas that I would never think of. For variations, that's what makes our art very original, even with these patterns that so I want to do it that way, but I'm wondering if I can give it a little bit of a rounding. To get a little variation. So you can see you can use your imagination. I also like to suggest that you look around. You can look around on the internet by just searching for Rixty Zentangle and see what other types of ideas you can come up with. But this this will give you an idea of how you can just play with it. And I think the more I do this type of drawing, the more I realize that it's about just letting ourselves go and play. And I like what one of you said earlier is that you just got inspired and you just kept going and allow your hand to do what it feels like doing. But I can create spokes. I can do something up here, and we have a small space that we're going to be putting this in on the labyrinth, and I happen to have done this one. So what I'm going to show you now is what I put on my labyrinth. So that is Rixty. That's basically the pattern, how it goes together. And then here's what I did inside on my labyrinth. And see, I had spaces here. I don't like to leave a lot of spaces. This is the only one that has a lot of spaces right now. But I just added some auras all the way to fill up that space. And then I'll go in and I'm going to shade. I'll add a little color highlight to the star that's sort of in the center. So that's Rixty. And Rixty is day 26. This is Mumdring, and it is day 27. This is day 27, and it's Mumdring, and it's by Kel Smirtwaite. And this was the bijou that I created. And I want to show you what she got inspired by. Okay, so I think that she said this was a ring that her mother got. Let's see. Mumdring, a new tangle inspired by the ring given to a friend by her daughter as a Mother's Day gift. So this was what she created the pattern out of. And I thought after I saw this and really looked at it, I didn't see it the first couple of times. And I think there were a couple of patterns that Gail recommended. And what I see with this pattern, if I were to do it again, is this would make a beautiful stone in the center of it. And these are the So the pattern's very simple. Pattern is simple, folks. We're just going to do it a few times and repeat it, and we end up with Mumdring 27. So take a screenshot, and then we'll get started. But I can see in the variation, you see here where we have the center circle. I might make that a little bit bigger so that I could make that into a gemstone. I think it would be really pretty. All right. Okay, so it's it starts with a curved line. So I'm going to show you what I did with this one. And so again, I started with a circle in this somewhere. It, it doesn't have to be center. It could be off center. Just so that we can put our different 4 different petals around. So you see this is kind of curved here. So I'm just gonna so I would say this is the first step, is it's like a C curve.
You have to aura the circle first, right? Oh no, I see. It's the curve. Okay.
It's the curve, and then we're gonna bring it up and bring it down. And so that's this shape. And then we're gonna put little orbs on the inside of that shape. And then they go here. See that, Holly? So it'll actually, when you do the other ones, you'll have the ring. Hopefully. I'm going to turn my tile. I've got that first step, and then I'm going to give it that C curve. So it creates a petal. And then add. And watch your little orbs that you actually close them neatly. Lately, I've been having to watch that. I don't think I'm drawing as slow as I used to. But if that gets sloppy or you miss it, one of the things you could say to yourself is, oh, maybe it's time to slow down a little and breathe. And then we'll repeat it again. Now, this could be done a few different ways. you could draw in all of those petals first and then go around and draw your orbs. Oh, and there's another step. So if these were a little bigger, so now they're kind of small, but we could put a little petal in the middle of them. That's what she did. Kind of squish it in there. So now I have those in the middle. And then in this design here, what I did was I connected these. Now, I don't know if this is going to come out actually in a circle. So another way that that could be done is to start with the circle and then the outer circle and then put an inner circle and then do your four. But and then what we did here was I went from the middle of this petal to the middle of that petal and created an arch. Now, this is a variation of the design. I mean, really, what she showed for the pattern is this. But the ring, you know, is kind of like this. And I'll give you that link to that page so that you can study it if you want to make it look a little bit more like the ring. And then these are filled in. I'll fill this one in. We go all the way around. And in the center is going to be these little petals again. And I also like to give some contrast in between those. And so it'll be finished up the same way. Now I think this is a great little focus tangle because you're drawing a lot of orbs, one right after the other. But when you focus on that and breathe, you're keeping what we call Zen flow. And if you can do that for 3 or 4 minutes, it's really helps to shift your focus and possibly anxiety that you might have because you're starting to slow down, and hopefully your brain is relaxing and giving you some nice vibes. So each of these would have the petals. I always find turning my tile really helps getting I draw the same petal, but it goes in the right position. And then so I have 2 more that I'm going to finish the same way. I might, I mean, looking at what I did in the center there, I might give it a little aura. And I could give it a little color. If we look at this one that I completed, so you can see that I did come in and give some contrast. I also shaded in between here. And also I shaded at the bottom. And that's Mumdring. So this is the step out. So I think what I want to do is I just kind of like the idea of it having an X. And we'll see what happens. See where I take it. So the first step are these parallel lines here. And so I kind of drew these lines because that's where I'm sort of heading with this. And so I thought what I would do then is come in and draw my parallel lines here following this. So we'll work on this line first. Now, the second step is that you see where these two parallel lines are. Remember we did Rixty and we came across the top? We're going to come across the top again. So we're going to come across this top again. Let me see if I can get this. So I'm going to come across the top and make a loop on either side. Then I'm going to come to the next one. I'm going across the top, making a loop. So you can see it's starting to show it go under. Now this is where I would take my number 4, or if I had a 5 or 6, and I would come in and ink in these loops here. And I grabbed an 8, which may be really too big. And this one's almost gone, so we won't use that. Let's try this. Okay, so the next thing I kind of think I might want to try, if I'm bringing this here, that seems a little close to there to give me what I want. So I'm gonna bring it sort of in the center. So I'm okay with making changes like that. In strict classic Zentangle, we kind of keep what we started with because you never know what it's going to end up like. But, oops. So I'm going to give my parallel lines here. I don't think I will draw all of them out today, just for the sake of time. Because I think you're going to get the idea. I'm going to put in my loops here. And I'll fill them in later. But remember, when you go to it's the top. What was a little tricky for me before, and I'll show you. See, I come across the bottom and then come back up. But I also have this one is on the top and it wraps around. This here will wrap around this way. I almost did it the other way. So you want to pay attention. So that was the top, like a T. And this is coming around the ball, it's going to wrap back around. I think where it really gets where it really comes to life is when I can come in here and see those little chunks. I'm going to give it a little bit of graphite. This one probably is going to have graphite here because it's going over the top.
But you don't draw that in with ink?
No.
Yeah.
It's just I'll show you in just a second. But you can try it. All right. I didn't, and the sample didn't, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it, and would be worth a try and see what happens. Because basically, we're so. See how it kind of brings it out. I think this is going to be like this. And where I put shading in here, that's where the ribbon is. That wasn't really what I meant to do there. But where it's crossing over here, I really have to look at what's going on. It looks a little Messy. Let's see if yeah, I would put some also take out these your string lines there. So what I think happened here. Well, I would need to work with this a little more. It looks a little messy there. I think, but this is laced. And And in this spot here, because this is going over the top, that's going over the bottom, I might actually put a line there. And work with giving it some clarity. And, you know, Holly, it may work that it does have a little, I'd make it thin. But this is laced. This is the pattern laced. This is Sampson. So let's see if there's a story about Sampson. It's a beautiful organic tangle that radiates outward like leaves or petals, and it's full of life and flow. It was deconstructed by Nancy Sampson, and this is Sampson is day 29, and she is a dear. So it is a Zentangle pattern, but Nancy Sampson did it, and she passed away from ALS, and this tangle remains a heartfelt tribute to her creative spirit. Its leaf-like form feels alive and organic, a reminder of the beauty and growth that come from simple, mindful strokes. So I do want to also have on here that this is day 29. Step out shows one leaf, and this bijou has four. So, you know, if I were to do this on this tile, I'm going to give it just a dot, so, so that I have a center. And then I'm going to have a line here. And a line. And depending on your space that you're fitting it in Inktober, you'll decide what you want to do. But basically, that's the idea. And then the next step is that you come up one of these lines, and we're going to give them little kind of a so that would be step 2. So I'm going to go all the way around with that.
Yeah, I like that better.
So now on step 3, we're basically going to create a wiggly outline, and then it'll look like this. I think this pattern will come in good. during the holiday season. Sampson. So I want to make sure that these were just sketch lines. That they're inked in. Now, and what I did for shading was I came in the center on this center line. The way I like to do my shading is layering, so I try to put in just a little bit in the beginning and then see what it needs and make it darker as I go or I see fit. It's got a lot of and I would call this a first, this would be like a first layer here. And then I'll go back over it where I want to make a little more shading. And if I have too much, then I'll take my eraser and I'll use that too to maybe take some out. And this is Sampson.
This is one of my favorites. I love it.
Yeah, I love Squid. And we did it in the art lab a few times, and every time we did it, I mean, there's several of us that just really love it. Okay, so this is day 30. We are almost there at the end. We have Squid, and then this will be followed by Pangea. So there's so much you could do with Squid. And if you've got your screenshot,
Wait 1 second.
was here, let me see. Okay, there we go. Hold on a minute. There. Okay. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Step one is we're going to put some little. So again, this is where we're going. This is where we're headed. And this is where we're starting. So I'm going to start in the middle, kind of in the middle. Actually, if this was a composition, you wouldn't want to be just right in the middle. But so it doesn't matter. If you head for the middle and it ends up being off center, then that's where it needs to be. So there's some little tiny orbs in the step out. There were 6, but it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to put 6. And now we're going to make, so step 2 is we're going to make some tentacles. And since that space was really small, the tentacles look small, but you can really come up, give it a beautiful S curve and down. This is another organic that's, I'm going to put it in a couple of different places. It took me a while to get my S curve swing again, but S curves are grace and beauty. So if you want to add grace and beauty to your drawings, you want beautiful S curves, and you can practice those, and eventually they will start coming. Okay, so that was step 1. Now, if you look at no, that was step 2. If you look at step 3, we're going to do the holly bow again. And we're going to go around the 4 tentacles that we just did. And this is, I'm showing you the step out way, but you can really improvise on this as you see fit. But I'm going to take it out over here, swing it back, do the holly bow thing. And then I'm going to turn my tile and I'm going to look and see where it's going to move around. Well, it didn't want to tuck under then. So now I think I'm going to turn. I'm going to bring it up. And you keep doing this until you want to stop. Mm. So if you just want to keep going with it, maybe I'll put one here. And then the next step is you can come in and put in little orbs in between. There. And maybe I'd do it in here. Maybe I wouldn't do all of it. And maybe there'd be a couple that would be here. And over here. and you can keep going. The other thing that that is done is in the center there, we can kind of leave a little highlight. For the center. And then you can work on shading. I mean, you might want to shade on either side, depending on how big your tentacles are. But if you have enough room to get some shading in there, you can give it a little bit of a shading on either side, so the tentacles have 3 dimensions. But what I like to do maybe with this, if I was lazy, well, you could have one that's dark and then another one that's light laying over top. But let's say I wanted to have this like that. I could come in with, that's when I come in with my eraser and I shape the, yeah, I'm going to shape the shadow down the center with that eraser. And then work on it. And it doesn't show up as much as I'd like it to on the camera. But, and of course, this could, you know, I could definitely work with this squid to be a full drawing, but this is basically how you draw it. And I'll be working with the shading of it after all of my tangles are drawn in. So that's Squid. I have a little editing, but anyway, so day 31 is Pangea. So what I can tell you about this is the Zentangle Tangle. It is day 31. And I think that Maria and Rick were inspired by the idea that Pangea was so ancient islands that were not, they were close but not connected, and then moved apart. This is the there is a video that I did for meditation and use this Pangea idea. So this is Pangea, and you see what I'm doing here is doing some different variations inside the Pangea, because Pangea is basically these different shapes. So it's a reticula, so it's like a string. So you can put different patterns inside of it, depending on the size. Let me.
So in the one you just showed us, that says breathe, you just left a lot more room between the shapes.
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the other one, I think, let me see. What the other, I did it twice. Well,
Oh, pretty. Okay.
they're almost together, but then I outlined them in gold. So, yeah, because that actually was the first time I watched the video that Maria was doing of the Pangea, you know, that larger design. And I didn't get that there wasn't space in between.
Hmm.
But so I'm going to show you how to do the pattern the way it was created, and then you can make your variations. So step one is basically, and see, this is organic as well. So it's just kind of a, so that's step one. Now, the next step is to bring it right up against, so it's like it's kind of like an aura. So that would be step two. And then you make your shape. And we keep building on that. Okay, I really wanted that closer, but it didn't get, but my pen didn't follow my mind. So I do have a space here, but I really wanted it up against it. So it will stay there. I mean, this is pretty much, this is Pangea. They're just random shapes. And the way you start the shape, you add another shape, is you come up against one that's there, give it an aura, and then allow your pen to move where you want it to move. And what I did here to show you is that I put crescent moon in one, floors, hollybaugh, some spirals, and whatever you want to put in there. So if I were to put, I'm not going to fill them all in. I'm going to let you do that if you want to do that. But but let's say I wanted to put in crescent moon. I'm coming in here, and this is what we would call in Zentangle a fragment. Well, kind of. Actually, this is a pattern inside of this shape. But you could go to their pattern, there it goes. All right, so I just lost the cap to my pen. It just went flying. But I would, I would start filling this in. And I do one of these at a time. And create the auras around each of them. And I might decide that, well, maybe that's all I want to do, and I would ink them all in. Oops. All right. So this is Pangea. And this was a full tile that I did. And the background is watercolor pencil.
Hmm.
And I really like working with the watercolor pencil and the water brush, because I can come in afterwards and I can just add some color and then a little bit of water, and I don't have to do a whole big set, watercolor paint setup. I can do it right at my drawing desk, and it's not a big mess, and it's easy to do, and it dries quickly, and it's become one of my favorite things to do. So that's Pangea. If you enjoyed today's Tangle, grab the Inktober Labyrinth Toolkit. It includes the template, step outs, supply list, and beginner-friendly resources to make this journey easy. And if you'd like accountability and support, join our Creators Art Lab community, where we draw together every week during the month of October. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a daily Tangle. Thanks for drawing with me today. I'll see you in the next video.